it makes me think. Recently, I've been talking with people, and it's like, New York is my home, and I love being here. Like, a lot of sometimes people are like, where you been at? Yeah, I hide out sometimes. Sometimes I lay low. I think like I hit the point where like I don't need to be on the streets no more because like I did my time. It's not cute when you get old and you're still on the streets and stuff. And, for me at least, and I ran to a dude recently and I was like, yeah, I'm about to get my hands dirty again in New York, and I'm gonna start like getting creating these happenings, start like getting like the culture back together, all the generations. A lot of people are doing things, but there's not enough places for people to experience it. And and people always like to say like, are there kids doing anything? Like they always like to ask me that question. They always like, are the youth? What's the youth got going on? I don't see the youth. Like, what's the youth doing? I'm like, yo, you don't gotta worry about the youth. The youth is already gonna do their thing no matter what. Like if you don't see it, like they're always gonna rebel against something. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's like, what I'm trying to say is that like, I like to say like, oh, like 10 years ago, New York was a certain way, and then like the people that came before me were like, oh, 10 years ago. So it's always that thing in New York City of like, yo, like you missed it, or like 10 years ago it was crazier, or like 20 years ago that's when it was nuts. Like yeah, obviously the whole world was in that state in like the 70s and the 80s where you could get away with murder and like have all these like ideas and get like abandoned buildings or storefronts and like not have to pay any type of high rent, and you have like this opportunity to be creative and stuff. But it's like times change, but I still feel like the younger generation is always gonna find that spirit of where like they create and where they're trying to like figure out their life or death. You gotta make shit happen. You gotta like you gotta like basically be creative and leave something behind, because like that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's like what you create and give to people and let people just judge you off of it, whether they like it or not. But you gotta like give them something. You gotta let people know that you walk these streets of New York City or wherever you're at. You know what I'm saying? And you put it down. Whatever it is that you put down, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's just like gathering the troops. You gotta just like make something happen. So I always, so people have been asking me lately about like the youth, and like yeah, I'm not out no more, but I know motherfuckers are doing shit. I know motherfuckers are like taking chances and putting their blood, sweat, and tears out there in the world, and a lot of times shit's not good. A lot of times you make mistakes on the rise. You know what I'm saying? Like I've made so many mistakes in my life. I shot myself in the foot so many times now. I should be footless. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a part of the struggle of like being somebody in the city, having to like survive and just like keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because like you see people come and go all the time. I can't even count how many people I've seen coming to New York City to kind of like to put it down and try to like be a part of something, and then they disappear. I don't know where the fuck these people go. I'm like I can't go anywhere. This is my home. This is my backyard. Like where do I run to? I wish I had a place to run to. So it's like it's really unbelievable to see that kind of thing through the years of like like the scenes and like how many people are active in the scene, but then how many people drop out and how many people actually like go through each scene and each moment, each fad, each style, and keep adapting, keep reinventing themselves and staying relevant, because that's the key, is just like really staying relevant in so many ways. And I think relevance is just by showing up, listening, supporting, contributing, and putting it out there,
Right.
That's fire.
It was like, I walked down these streets so many times, and I got tired. Like at one point I was like so fucked up in my head that I was like, man, I can't keep walking down the same streets. It's like we live in a little village, It's like we live in the most crowded city, the most people, the most good looking people, the most many options of whatever you want to do. It's so ADD culture. Like you don't like New York is so dangerous that way. You know what I'm saying? Where there's just like you just like every day is a new fucking adventure. You know what I mean? And for me, I remember just like the 10 block radius, the 20 block radius. Like that's so small. If you think about all the energy and all the ideas and all the community and all the people that come through that 10, 20 block radius of downtown, it is so like on top of each other, and like it's so like painful sometimes walking the streets and like having to play that small talk game and shit and being like, yo, what's going on? How you doing? You're like, I don't know, man. I'm alright.
Small talk game.
It's a fucking roller coaster ride. It's up and down. It's like crazy. Small talk city out here. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy walking downtown.
It's bugged out. Like
yo,
like,
what up?
It's so tiptoe fake shit at the time. Everybody's like on their grind, which is cool because New York's a business town. But like I remember like back in the day in the 90s, like Supreme, for instance, let's use that example, like on Lafayette Street, they were the only shop on that. Lafayette was a ghost town. You know what I'm saying? You could do anything you want on Lafayette Street, in the mid 90s. Like there was nobody walking down the street. There was antique stores and electronic stores and like 2 stores, Pop Shop Keith Haring, Liquid Sky, and Supreme. You look at things now, it's totally different. There's like hybrid names of neighborhoods, for real estate purposes change their names from like, Little Italy to Nolita to like, you know, Lower Houston to Loho to, you know, whatever, you know, like, it's just all bullshit, you know, so, like, everything's changing, but I think that's happening globally, you know, and you know, it's a different picture, you know, like, I have a different picture painted in my head of what my experiences were. I think, you know, the new generation is going to hit the streets and have their experience, and that's going to paint their picture of their time,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
for
so me, it's tough, you know, it's tough, like, really, I feel for a lot of the youth and a lot of the creativity, because in my mind I don't think there's enough venues supporting the culture, you know. I don't think that there's places where people are letting people experiment their craft, you know. I think everything's all based around high rents, and you know, and that's just the way the city works. So therefore, when you have high rents, it's hard to have the ability to experiment more, you know what I'm saying? So
I feel like a lot of people there's this certain like because of the way shit's changed and shit, there's a certain like wanting to like keep that aesthetic of like the old New York and things like that, and I feel like a lot of people like try to buy into the new young art, you know what I mean, like, and like I don't know, so in a way, but then it's always some shit where you have to get like, I don't know, like whether it's a musician getting like sponsored by like some Converse or Red Bull to like get their recording for free, so this is all free, you know what I'm saying, like. Or I don't know, but
which
there's
that
like
is
this
actually amazing.
advertising
That's actually
like,
amazing.
But then there's like that kind of takes away from you doing it yourself, and it like being like, yo, this is like you said, like, yo, we got the money together, we're gonna put up the storefront, boom, boom, boom. It's not like Red Bull fucking plastered up everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a different time, you know.
Exactly.
You know, and it's. I think it's okay if.
But then they kind of need us. Those companies need the cool. They need the culture of New York, and they fucking try to buy into it. Shit.
Yeah, I mean,
they like,
you know, they're the savages. You know what I'm saying? But like that's again, it's been going on forever. You know, like you don't necessarily need any of this stuff, but it's also nice to have it.
Dude, it's like that. You know, when you see, I was watching this like New York documentary. It's like when they were like first building the Twin Towers, and everyone's like, "Yo, fuck this! Like they're tearing down our business." And then to me, growing up, I'm like, "Yo, the Twin Towers, like that going down. It's like everything. What the fuck?" But then it's just this flip.
It's always a thing of people. I think always.
You guys out? Peace.
Of people always rebelling against like whatever's happening, because like they have to do that. Like it's in the DNA of like being like, yo, fuck this. Like people are building, fuck this, you know. And like you can't fight it. Like I used to always like try to fight the gentrification. I used to always try to fight, like I used to call it the whitewash. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody like crossed a fucking, you know, a gate full of tags and they just whitewashed. It's like, to me, it's like I always would like try to go against that, but you know, there's a certain point as I get older, I was like, I can't fight that war. Like that war is you already lost that war. Like New York has already been like taken. It's gone. You know, it's not what we read about or saw as kids, like in the movies or the documentaries or the books or listening to the music and listening to like reading the liner notes. Like it is not what it was. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay, because like it is what it is for us, what we have. You know, and we make the best of it, and I think that's fine. Like there's no regrets of like, man, I wish this was back in the day, or I wish it was different, because it's not going to be. And to do that, you're wasting your time and energy trying to be like, you know, put all that energy into like what it could be or what it should be, or like, you know, trying to fight like this, like trying to fight, you know, the whitewash or the gentrification. It's like, nah, just roll with it, find your fucking lane, get into the zone and make your shit, you know what I'm saying? And show people that you can make it in any opportunity, you know what I'm saying? You can make it in the most fucking foul, sleeping on the floor, fucking rats running around, motherfuckers eating the fucking, you know, toast out of the fucking fridge, you know? It's like, you know, everybody's on top of each other, man. It's disgusting out here. This fucking New York City got that filth, you know, like that.
SP's living in the shed.
Yeah, amazing. It's an amazing performance piece he's doing. If he calls it performance art, that shit goes down in history, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, SP's
he's doing, you know, he's authentic, you know, there's all these authentic characters, man, that, you know, we have a job to do. We have a job to do to, like, you know, take on all the people who move here from different places to be a part of it, especially for the local kids who grew up here. You know, for locals, like I'm a local, and for me, you know, I didn't get to go to school or nothing, and for me it was like to get downtown and meet people that were already, you know, people that I knew of, people that I read about, people that I like looked up to kind of like meet them and like, you know, share stories with them. And then for me it was always this thing where like people move here from all over the world to fucking make it happen. You know what I'm saying? They go to school here, they get smart, they're here, they're hungry to make it. You know, a lot of the New Yorkers, you know, that grew up here,
they're not.
we take it for advantage.
Granted.
You
I
know,
always thought
granted,
that.
we take it for granted. We don't realize that like what like we have in our backyard. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, for me, I came from Brooklyn, so for me to get to the city, that was a big deal. You know, and like I used to see city kids, and I'll be like, damn, these motherfuckers are not taking advantage of what they have, and I'll be like, these guys are bugging. I'm gonna try to hold my position and shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, so I think it's really important for like the locals to kind of like, you know, who grew up here to like take advantage of what we have. Bring on the out of towners, bring on the people who want to get down with this shit and bring more energy into it, because that's how you build a fucking movement. And
then you're the and then that's like how you, it's like the difference between like owning your own business and like you could be like, if you're from here, you're local, it's like you be the one, and then you put on the out of towners. Don't let them put you on. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You like that. You see me, like I see. You know what I'm saying?
You bring them in. You bring them in.
So that you're like this is my shit, but
we all work together and we all climb together.
And it can be your shit too.
That's you know, everybody has, you know, you find the strength in each other. You know what I'm saying? You find like what, you know, some people are gonna do things better than others, and I think once everybody recognizes that, puts the ego to the side and says, hey man, let's team up and let's really like, you know, put our mark out here. You know, let's make some noise out here, because you know, young is a spirit, man. Young is a way of life. You know, like you know, I feel like creative people, we're gonna be young to the day we die, because that's the mindset of being creative. It's fucking tragic, but at the same time, it's like, you know, time moves fast and time waits for no man. So it's like you gotta just fucking seize it. You gotta like bust your ass. You gotta fucking wake up early. You gotta wake up late. You just gotta fucking wake up and do your shit. Dust off. You know what I'm saying? Comb your fucking breath. Brush your fucking teeth. Whatever you gotta do. Shake it off. You know, if you had a rough one the night before, it's all good. You know, get some titty milk or jump in the ocean. Those are the two hangover remedies. You know what I'm saying? Right there. If you can't find titty milk, which is not easy, you know, go jump in the ocean and clean up your fucking act and get a new day. You get that new day, you got 24 hours to fucking put your shit down. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you feel like shit, just make sure you do one thing that gives back to your personal growth, meaning like your creativity, you know, whether it's fucking, you know, writing down an idea, whether it's, you know, taking a photo, whether it's, you know, getting on the phone and calling another fucking creative motherfucker and being like, yo, what's the deal? What do you got? Inspire each other, because the inspiration it comes from within, but also like, you know, you gotta find it on the streets, and it's out there, you know, but you gotta like sometimes hunt a little bit harder. It's not like it used to be where it's just like inspirational everywhere. There was like, you know, cars being blown up. There was like, you know, weird people with weird outfits and just like weirdness everywhere. Like, it's not like that right now. It's like collared shirts and square motherfuckers who are taking over our fucking our turf. But it's okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the creatives need to stick together, you know, like work with each other, you know, speak with each other and inspire each other, you know, and you know, and even if I think competition's fine, you know, I think friendly competition on the same team is what pushes a team, which pushes a community. It's like, man, when everybody's like, man, you're gonna drop a verse, I'm gonna drop a harder verse, you know, or you're gonna make a fucking painting, my painting's gonna be more fire. It's like everybody actually in war with each other, but on the same team makes everything even more powerful. Like, so I think competition and a little ego is okay in what we do out here, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just like, you know, I used to say me versus me, you versus you, but together we got this,
me
man.
Versus me, that's that.
I got hooks for the day, man.
Mach 5 versus Mach 5, we had a track that was like kind of based like that.
You know?
Like eye against eye, like the bad break, you know what I mean? Like,
and I mean, even for you, man, it's like, you know, I loved, you know, telling the stories of like meeting you on the street, and I had that rec center, I had that crazy ravioli factory that I turned into like kind of just like an outlaw venue where we just, you know, people were performing, people were doing like readings and skating, and you know, and the cops shut me down. But I remember when you rolled up, I think you and Googs were cutting out of school and just, you know, try to drop a verse on me real quick. I you know, I was flattered. I was down for it. I was probably out of my mind, and you know, it was cool to see, you know, a young cat, you know, who wanted it, and you were young, you know. And I remember, like, you know, bringing you out to a couple of jams, you know, and sneaking you into the club, getting you perform, and people being like, who is this little kid? People getting hyped, you know, and getting you on the block parties, just trying to, like, you know, give you an opportunity to voice your stuff, even when people didn't get it. It was just the idea that somebody had, you know, passion for what they were doing, regardless, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, being from a different generation, not even knowing who they were performing for, just doing what they were doing. So to me, to see the story unfold, you know, like years later, still at it, and, you know, traveling the world and all these new opportunities, you know, and dropping that solo, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's pretty major, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know, you could have hung this up and you know, went to college, or you could have just got a job. Like instead, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat shit and fucking do what I love, voice my generation. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk about what I go through and what I see my friends going through. The everyday struggle, sleeping on couches, fucking living at their mom's house, fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, just like trying to like, get a fucking bite of somebody's sandwich, like just trying to like get your dick wet, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to live that life, man, so you can tell these stories and pass them on and inspire the next generation. The next kids are gonna come up because they're coming for you. The next kids are gonna come. They're coming for you. They're coming for me. They're coming for everybody. And that's what's the good thing about this city. And that's what's the good thing about the hunger of downtown culture. Is like, if you think that it's sweet and you're gonna hold your crown or you're gonna hold your position, it's getting taken. It's getting taken regardless, because you're gonna get older and you can't hold it. You gotta be able. I think the most important thing is pass it off. I think the most important thing is talk to the youth, pass off, the stories from the elder generation. Give it to the youth, share ideas. They'll keep you young for a little while, and then it's time to check out and play the background, let them rock, and then they hopefully pass it to the next wave, and then the next wave, and then the next wave. And that's what we call the knowledge wave, man. That's how no wave comes around. You know what I'm saying? It's just like passing the knowledge to one another and just fucking getting on that fucking wave, that roller coaster, man. That thing we call life, man. You know what I'm saying? The ups and downs, the survivals, like to fucking wake up and be me and do you, man. I don't give a fuck about you because I'm gonna do me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter. It's like, man, we're lucky this is where we're from. We're lucky we're from the craziest, as fucked up as New York is, it's still the best place. You travel the world, man. You travel the world, you know what I'm saying? And you've seen it, and like, it's cool, but like, it ain't nothing like coming home to New York. Even when New York is, like I said, even it's college shirts and fucking cornball fucking central, it's still something special in the air about here. The stress, the minute you get off the airplane, stress, hits you slaps you right in the face. For no reason. You're like, damn, I'm stressed. I just landed, you know what I'm saying? And you wake up and you're like, fuck, I'm still tired. There's no resting here. There's no sleeping. Like, this shit is just 24 hours. The pain to fucking survive and push things forward, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're lucky, man. We're lucky that this is what we're taught. We're lucky that this is, the cards that we got dealt was like, here you go. You're born here now. Hit the streets and make your name and survive, and like, we're lucky, and that's what it's about,
Let's go, putos.
And I never forget my man Slicky Boy TF, a proper LES
Yo,
dude.
so you got the gun,
you got that little belly popping out with that tight button.
I fuck with the knowledge wave so hard. The knowledge wave, that's perfect. That's what I was saying. I know it's like, I was talking to Eric about it before, saying how it's like a new, because no wave was like, I was trying to explain it to someone. They were like, what was no wave? Like, no wave. And I was like, it was like, at first I started talking about the music, but then I was like, it was really like I was like, you can't just be like, the Renaissance was a style of painting. That was like a whole era that was like engulfed this certain place that was like the art, the music, everything that was going on, the style, everything. And that's like what no wave was. It's like this thing in New York where it's like things are crossing up. Was and is, but that's what I'm saying. The knowledge wave is like, that's that new wave, the knowledge. Like,
for sure.
Really, like, that was some more like, you know what I mean? This shit is like, no wave. It's like everyone you got from Blackout Boys to fucking Dev to fucking Rat King to fucking Onyx to Skate Talk to fucking
just a straight
more
old people.
You know what I mean?
It was funny because like the thing about No Wave was like, when I wanted to create it was like, I really wanted to capture like what was happening, in New York City, downtown, like on a vocal level, you know what I'm saying? Not on a visual. I wanted people to kind of like listen in and like have to paint the picture in their brain and see, like, listen to like Letter Race or Rat King shows and listen to like some of the other shows and like imagine being in the studio and like watching these people kind of interact with each other. And I think it was really important to kind of like capture all these different like genres that come out of New York City that all feed off each other, that maybe don't get to hang out on the streets often because everybody has different lifestyles, but on this one platform, everybody could kind of like be together and like, and kind of, stew up that community. I think it was so important. It's just like having all these people, passing through the studio and talking to each other that don't get to interact and and capture New York City.
Because I would always see like some old head, like OG, like, I don't know, painter or poet or something, like walk out and like we would walk in, and then it's like, then like someone else would walk in. I was mad, and then like Myla and like Des would walk in.
It was amazing. I think the storefronts that we had, and we just like, I get these storefronts and I'll just give it over to the community and be like, do what you guys want, because like, that doesn't make sense, in a modern day. What?
Like, I don't even know.
What's that?
Saying like, till the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, it was like, here's a storefront. You guys everybody do what you got to do. Record your shows. get people pumped, you know, get your shit off, you know, and show up every week, and it's like an exercise, you know, you're homing your skills of like, you know, getting on the mic, making a flyer, you know, getting on the airwaves and just, you know, talking about your day and stuff. And like, I think, you know, for me, in a modern day when shit's so expensive in New York City, you know, there's a business model. There was no business model. The business model was like lose money, get kicked out, the cops come, you know, people can't define what the fuck is happening. By the time people catch on, we're already kicked out, we're on to the next. You know, we had 3 spots that we've been kicked out of, you know, and that's, for me, it's fine, because when you get kicked out of spots, it makes me have to rethink the project. It forces my hand to actually like step back and like think like, okay, what's the next move? Because sometimes, you know, things with endings are good, because sometimes things with no endings, you see them just like start going from, they hit the top and then they start dropping. There's nothing worse than seeing something hit that descent, you know what I'm saying? So I think I love when like shit, you know, build and destroy, you know what I'm saying? Like shit's like at its peak and then, oh, cops shut you down, or like, you know, shit gets fucked up, and then gives you a chance to actually like rethink and come out again where you left off on that high note. You know, you don't want to start, you know, it's the hardest thing to start from the bottom again, you know. It's been years and years that we're trying to build, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's like, you don't want to have to like drop that first fucking Wiki fucking verse, like, you know, that's all bananas over fucking 93 to infinity fucking sound, you know. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard, man. It's all momentum. It's all building off the momentum. I think that's one of the most important things of the movement is like the momentum, I like to say. It's just because that shit is what it's about. It's just the energy. It's in the room. It's in the streets. You can't, if your mind's not connected to the fucking energy, you're not in it, you know what I'm saying? And the energy you can't see. The energy is like a feeling, you know what I'm saying? And that feeling is out there every day in New York. And you know when you walk by somebody, they got that energy, because it's like, you know they're on that same wavelength as you. That it's just like, yo, today's survival day, you know? I don't want to not make this thing. I don't want to have to move. I don't want to have to get forced out of the city. I got to fucking hold my spot. I got to make sure I got a piece of cement right here, you know? I got to make sure there's a fucking tree that grows. That's my tree, my plaque, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting a street named after me, you know? Fucking Jordan Ramon Place, Charlie Parker Way, you know, like, you know, that's when you know you made it, when you get your
that's
street,
what I'm trying to do, man. That's my goal.
Your little Wiki Avenue over there, you know what I'm saying? Little slicky boy on Avenue D block, you know what I mean?
I'm not for Avenue D though, but it's all good.
Just throw shit around. Wait, what block you on, Stephen?
I live on 7th between 1st and 2nd.
Oh, you East Village cat.
Nah,
that's
East
classic Adam Zoo. Adam Zoo's like,
Village.
you're from the East Village. He's like, it's not the East
Where you
Village.
from, man? The lower?
Yeah, that is the lower.
Okay, we got popcorn here.
I'm from Alpha.
I still consider that the Lower East Side.
My man, let's talk about the Lower East Side real quick.
It's everything below, right?
Below what?
14?
You know, but they got these hybrids. No, because if you look on the map, it's like East Village. Lower East Side actually is like the lower deck, and it kind of like hits on the round bottom, you know? And then like Avenue D, they call it, that's the 6th borough. They didn't want to be a part of anything, right? And then, you know, you used to have ABC, Alphabet City, man. Nobody calls it Alphabet City anymore. It's the fucking best name of all New York, Alphabet City. Nobody.
I still say that.
True.
It's like the illest name. I live in Alphabet City. Nobody uses that shit no more, because it's like,
You
East
know,
Village is
that's
good for like,
crazy.
you know, your real estate thing. East Village, I live in East Village, you know.
Fuck that
But you're in East Village.
Well,
dog.
just 'cause-
Oh, all right, you're the
I'm not.
lower.
You know what it is? It's
The
like,
lower.
it's just what shit gets associated with. Because like Alphabet City, that would be some shit that would be like, oh, that's trendy. But since once Alphabet
always
City
the-
got associated with it being like fucked up and
Well, that's in
grimy,
every-
it's like,
yeah.
oh wait, like the South Bronx. It's like
But that's
Harlem,
every
Brooklyn,
city is like that.
Brooklyn is made a transition. It's like Brooklyn at one time. When you said I'm from Brooklyn, like I remember at camp, like someone would be like, I'm from Brooklyn. One girl would be like, what? You're from Brooklyn? Oh my god.
read that Brooklyn shit
You know what I
before.
mean? Exactly.
You
but
loved
then,
it.
But then now Brooklyn has made its transition. When you say Brooklyn, the motherfucker.
You're like, where you
Yeah,
at?
you think of like, oh, that's the cool like.
But
nice
it's still low. You know
spot.
why?
It's
the
kind of
East
crazy.
Village-
It made a
My
full
man said he's stuck
transition.
on that Lower East Side, you gotta tell him.
But you know why the East Village is downtown? Because anybody who's from the East Village goes to Alphabet City to chill. That's where they're going. You feel me? Their house might be like right next to Alphabet
You're
City.
saying if they're from there, it's different than if they like moved there. Then
Yeah.
it's the East
Come on,
Village.
You could be from
You're saying
the
if you
Upper West,
move-
you could be hanging out in Harlem.
You get a piece
You
of
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, your zip code is East Village, buddy. Yeah, but that block is legendary though. Doesn't matter. You're on one of the most grimiest blocks in the past 20 years.
But
East Side, East Village, downtown is a fucking ghetto. It was built off a ghetto, meaning like it was tenements. Like people, like 20 people lived in an apartment.
Right.
You know, you think
Uptown
about-
was where Harlem was where they had all their country houses and
Right,
shit.
you
all
know
the
what I'm
rich
saying?
motherfuckers.
But like people forget, like all these kids are all living
Up
down
on the
there.
hill, that was like
It
the
wasn't
swamp
like
down there.
little apartments, but like, yo, this shit was like, there was a reason why it was set up this way, you know. And it's just wild to think that, you know, like, what these motherfuckers are getting away with on rents and shit. When it's like this shit was.
Meant to
Think about it,
be.
it's like a port town. We're a port town, and it's fucking.
You're like, this was meant to be like a tenement, and you're charging me this
You
shit
know
for
what I
this.
mean?
Like,
Dude, why
that's
are we
crazy.
getting paid? You know what I'm saying? Take advantage of the situations. Take advantage of all the new jacks, the weak-minded motherfuckers who want to buy into the fucking, the culture. Give it to them. Sell it to them. You know what I'm saying? Hand it to them. Get yours.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to say, but get yours. Take the money and put it back into the community. Put it back into your friends' projects. Put it back into your friends' studios. Put it back into the ideas. Keep creating, you know what I'm saying? Make things for your friends, take that money and put it back into fucking the arts, you know what I'm saying? That's all
Yeah.
Yo, what's Little Me? Why is he calling this album Little Me?
I think it's a good representation of, I don't know, it's
His inner fucking thoughts, the inner beast that's inside of him.
It's his child, right?
Yeah. I mean, kind of I feel like he's always been considered I've never been a short person, but I feel like for a person like Wick with as much personality and his height, I feel like that's like all ties into like who he is. And when people know, when they think about Patrick, like his height comes into, like when he forms in somebody's mind, his height is really important. So I don't know, I think Little Me, like when people say that, it's gonna end up being synonymous with the name Wiki. After a while, it'll be like another nickname. And it's really short, concise. It looks good when you write it on paper. It looks good when you put it on the back of a T-shirt. It sounds like some shit Big L would fucking say. Like, it's like, oh, who this little nigga? Little Me, motherfucker. It's like some little dude like having to speak up for himself,
Yeah, Little Me also kind of sounds like.
Little who? Little Me.
Yeah.
It's a brainchild too, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, but it's also like, when you it's like who me? It's like Little Me. So like Little
Like
Me.
what?
Man, I'm fucking bigger than you. I'm bigger than you ever be.
Yeah, it's like the oxymoron. It's like little old me, but at the same time, it's just like I got a lot of impact.
Me? What?
Just a little old me, baby. It's like based off of Tupac, Me Against the World. So he has that connection too. Tupac was little like little me, another little old me. But yeah, that was like kind of the inspiration behind that joint. If you can listen to it, you can kind of hear that.
3:30 a.m. with the slabs.
Yo, I know something. Talk about being of mixed background and culture and race, growing up in New York City, and how you and Wiki have that in common.
Well,
and also Ben Amin too. Also,
right.
a lot of
people.
people.
Yeah, he's a Puerto Rican Jew as well. I think it's the best of. It's really interesting because like New York is like a melting pot. That's like it's what they say. Like New York, everybody comes from all these different places in the world, and they end up here. And I think like being mixed blooded, it always kind of has like that weird like inner confusion of like who the hell you are. You like don't know where the fuck you fit in. Like you're like, am I this? Am I that? You celebrating all types of holidays. Half of your family's dark, half your family's light, whatever your mix is. But I always like the idea of mixed blood because it's like when you're mixing two bloodlines, you're creating this new energy or something. So, I think more than ever you see a lot of people in New York City that are mixed. But I think for me growing up, it was fucking weird, man. It was weird because I didn't really identify with anybody. I would look in the mirror and be like, what the fuck am I? And
You would literally say that to yourself?
yeah, I'll be like, yo, what the fuck am I? You know what I'm saying? Nah, I'll just be like, you just like look at yourself. You're like, what the hell's going on over here? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Far back, you could be
How old were you? How old were you?
all my life, man. Fucking I had freckles. I lived in a
You had the fro. You had the fro with the freckles.
I lived in an Italian Irish neighborhood, and I was a Jewish Puerto Rican.
You
You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is like, being mixed blood is an interesting thing. It's very, very fucking New York. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Puerto Ricans is like a really like a New York fucking thing. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And
Jewish people.
Oh, and yeah, Jews and Irish. I mean, they're all dropped off here. Got to this fucking city and carved their fucking lane. So I think like it only makes sense when I think bloodlines start crossing. People are interested in different.
Did you feel like that gave you the upper hand in some
I could be a chameleon for sure. Like there was times where I could hang with anybody, through the fact of like being like mixed and stuff. I could blend in with anybody, and I think it gave me an upper hand in certain. Yeah, I think it gave me an upper hand because it was like you were confused anyway, so you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. I don't even know where I go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna go everywhere, or I'm gonna go down the middle. And I think it just made me kind of be interested in all types of cultures. I think mixed blood is everything. Like I think all your kids or everybody's gonna be. I can't imagine anybody having in New York City like in the future. Nobody's gonna be anything. It's all gonna be this new fucking breed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And true. Know what I mean? But yeah, I think it was. It's a blessing, man. I think it's a blessing, man, to have being a sick, mixed up individual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you got excuses. You can be like, oh, I don't know, man. That's the other side acting up. I used to say, like, you know, I'm a Puerto Rican Jew. One hand's on my dick and the other hand's in my pocket, you know? Johnny Prob's in the background.
True.
Oh, that was classic. All right, cool.
What else you got?
Let me see what else.
I'm thinking about some tracks on.
Yeah, think about track titles. Let's talk about like just being like in like the clubs and bars and stuff coming up, and just like the crazy shit, like smack my bitch up style nights
well,
and all that
I'll
good
tell you,
stuff.
Man, for me, at a young age, I used to at 14, I would carry this DJ. DJ Fruit Punch was his name, and I used to carry his crates into Limelight, you know, because I was too young to get into Limelight. So shut the fuck up, you know what I'm saying? So listen, be quiet, you know.
This is good.
You're saying
Shut the fuck up.
So just don't. You gotta stay quiet, though. I'm telling stories, all right? So
Do you remember?
shut
Stop
the
talking.
Fuck up.
Hey, stop the Z.
Yo, shut this guy. Put a piece of fucking donut in his mouth. Now listen, okay. When I was young, I used to carry the crates into the. Shut the fuck up. When I was young, I used to carry the crates into the club. This DJ Fruit Punch, this guy from Brooklyn. I used to hitch a ride with him, carry his one fucking crate into the club at like 8:30. You know, go to the fucking library because the Limelight was like an old church, and you know you get lost in there. I would take a nap at like 9, wake up at about like 10:30, 11, and the club was packed with fucking weirdos, and I was underage, and like I was still like going. This was my first year of high school, so I would like, you know, this is a Thursday night now, you know, so the next day I would go to school, and I remember just like seeing all these like weird motherfuckers I was just like scared of, but also intrigued, and I'm fucking turning me on. What's that?
Yeah, the dreads or no?
Yeah, I mean this might have been after the dreads a little. thing, but again, so that I think those experiences were like tripping me out, like hooking up with like older girls who were fucking weird, and like, or like, you know, taking acid and like going home and like my parents being like, it's all good, you know what I'm saying, just like going to school and like having like this like secret that I was like in the nightlife, you know, and then
So basically you got weird before hanging out with all the art weirdos. You were already weird.
Yeah, I was weird by birth. I was weird by mixed blood, you know. I was weird by exposure with my fucking family, but I think like. It shifts, you know, because there was like big clubs in New York, and everybody would like meet up in the clubs and hang out and shit, and get lost, and like, you know, what was cool about the clubs is that everybody would come from Bridge and Tunnel, and you would meet like all these like, you know, different people from like, you would like hook up with like girls from like Westchester, you know what I'm saying, or like from Jersey or Connecticut who drove in for the night to go partying and stuff. And then but I think as I got older, I think like it just moved to like weird venues. Like a legendary party was at the Hole. The Hole was a gay club on First Avenue, and this one kid was bartending there that we knew. He was straight, and he was a graffiti writer, and he was like, oh, come get drinks, and there was nobody there, and there was like, oh, it's just like gay dudes, you know what I'm saying, and it was like the weirdest place. But like slowly, like all like the gay kids and then like the street kids, the graffiti kids started like meshing into this one community, and in this club, you know, and it was just like really like it was like, you know, when like sometimes it's like a moment, you know, when you're in a moment when there's like something special happening, when like everybody from different walks of life are like rubbing shoulders, people you don't know, and everybody's just there looking to have a good time, you know, and a lot of like stuff happens. So I think that was like a time at this place called the Hole that was really important for my generation, where it was like the first time that like the graffiti writers and the skaters who were very narrow-minded and very like, you know, prejudiced against like, you know, maybe somewhat of like art and gay, and then all the art and gay kids kind of like everybody was just like in one roof looking for the good time. And I think that was like a good moment in New York. It always moved around, you know what I'm saying, like it always, I remember just like being really scared going into clubs and stuff, but then like there was a point where I was just like, it became like what you did, like, you know, you waited till like 1 a.m.
Yeah, describe a night start to finish, 1 a.m.
You start at 1 a.m.
Start at 1 a.m. All right, what are you rocking?
Okay, wait. At 1 a.m., I'm already pre-gamed at my apartment. You know what I'm saying? I already started drinking my beers. I already started getting high. I already started getting into my rhythm. You know, I'm already trying to figure out like what's the move. But I know I could go to like this one bar saying I know I drink for free. That's that's an important place. You want to know where you drink for free. You know what I'm saying? You go to that spot. You know what I'm saying? And then.
So what are you rocking? I know you're trying to like impress some chicks, like, are you were you on some low shit, or you on some like,
nah, man,
or you on some like,
dude, I was like Supreme from exclusive from 90, cool. From like 93 on, you know what I'm saying? I was already like laced up with free gear, you know what I'm saying? From
so Supreme Stussy.
all that. It's just like basically like, you know, at a young age I was definitely like rocking just like the free. I didn't have to pay for nothing, man. I used to call it Free Willy. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like all free. You know what I'm saying?
I used to call it Free Willy.
You know, like everything was Big Willy freestyle. You know, like, you're just like living large off of nothing. You know, like fucking just, you know, drinking for free, going to clubs for free, free gear. You know, like traveling. You know, it was just like living this crazy like youth with doing nothing. You know, I was like famous for nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like always say like famous for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, famous not for nothing, but famous for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like you did nothing and you got like this opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Just like, so it was kind of a wild time when I was younger on those levels. And then meeting just crazy fucking hustlers from, you know, I think it gave me an opportunity to meet all these kids from the 5 boroughs who were all running away from their situations, from their neighborhoods, from their schools, like that didn't fit in, or they just didn't connect, and they were all running away to find some kind of connection with something. And I think everybody kind of ended up downtown, and we all kind of like meet each other. And you know, and for us, we were lucky that we had a few spots that were like the headquarters. You know, obviously, like you know, I say Supreme a lot because I was you know 18 years old, you know, even younger when I started like working with them and being a part of that. You know, and like, you know, here's all these kids from Queens, the Bronx, you know, Brooklyn, Harlem, the LES, all like bad kids, exchanging slang, exchanging hustles, exchanging ideas, you know, all educating each other with like, it was like the craziest schooling that I ever had, you know, like learning from each other on the streets and like how to fucking survive, how to get over, how to fucking get yours, how to, you know, everything, it was just like hustle, and then protect yourself, you know, meaning that like these motherfuckers, you know, we're all crew here, but everybody will take you out, you know what I'm saying, because this is how it is, you know what I'm saying, it's like if you're weak, you're gonna get fucking dealt with, so you almost have to keep your guard up and protect yourself from like, you know, you don't want your true story to come out yet. You know, for me, my story, I kept a secret like my real life. You know, I didn't want nobody to know. I had sisters.
What about your advertisements?
What do you mean?
Like you're modeling.
Well, you know, at a young age, I got opportunities to do some photo shoots and shit. And
that's ill. You kept your you say no, you didn't want anybody to know your story.
Yeah, I think it was important. Like for me, I always was protecting my story. Like, you know, because I didn't trust people. So, you know, I think coming downtown, you get this like blank canvas, you know what I'm saying? If you want, you start off with a blank canvas and you paint this picture of like what you want your life to be portrayed as, and you get caught up in it. It's a dangerous thing because what happens is that you start believing into your own bullshit. You know, you come up with a fucking nickname, a tag, you start speaking your fucking slang, and all of a sudden you get swallowed by this fantasy of this idea that you want to be looked at as on the streets.
Because you start winning based off of that, and so then you like hold on to it a little bit tighter. You refine it.
You lose yourself. You lose almost who you really are. Like, because like who you are was already there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
your parents know. Your
parents, your upbringing, you looking in the mirror, the things that you you know, as a kid saw or felt inside of you was already in you when you the cards were dealt. When you were born, that thing was already in you. It was just like a matter of time for it to come out. What's that?
How's it gonna be harnessed or like nurtured or whatever?
Right.
But you start shutting it out maybe.
And sometimes you shed it out the wrong way, you know, because you don't like, because we all have this power inside of us, and the power is you know, you have to find it and let it come out, but then you also have to make sure that you're using it in the right way, you know what I'm saying? And it's a scary thing. It's like a tragic thing. I like to use that word because, like, you know, being a creative person who has to survive on creativity, it's not easy, but it's like it's all we know how to do. I mean, think about it. All of us here fucking don't have jobs. You know, our job is to wake up and be us, you know, which is an amazing thing, but a scary thing because we ain't got no fucking benefits. You know, we ain't got nothing like to back. Like, we have nothing. Like, it's just like it could be gone tomorrow, and then you got to start over. So I think for me it was like, you know, creating that blank canvas that you get when you're a young you know, person in New York. You get to like play. You're playing like, you know, downtown. You're playing like, you know, eccentric or fantasy or like this like whole thing. You create like, you know, this persona, and then the persona takes you out. You know, the persona bites you in the ass sometimes if you let it bite. You have to control it because it could surpass you and then control you, and then all of a sudden now you're like a victim of your own fucking identity. You know, and you're like, you know, dressing a certain way, talking a certain way, and people expect this thing, you know, and then when you try to pull back out of it, it's like it's a crazy thing, you know, but
it's also very common though. It's mad common. Like most people don't follow their like who they are or who they're really interested in, or they're afraid to kind of go there.
Right, and they get that fucking day job, or
so
they
all
get
have stories and stuff, and like
yeah, I mean, we're lucky that we get to play. We get to play. We get to play make believe for a little while, you know, and it's like, you know, so, but yeah, I think, and then I guess back in the day for me it was just like, you know, you gotta protect yourself. You gotta like keep it like right on the surface with people you're dealing with on the streets. So like, you know, they're dealing with you for who you are right there. They're not like trying to get your backstory and trying to be like, oh man, like, you know, call you out or like, you know, it was just like, you know, one of those scenarios. And then like as you get comfortable and you really like get comfortable in your own skin, you're like, oh, this is who I am. And this doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just a matter of time, you know. But yeah, for me, I think coming up, it was.
Hey, what do you think about the idea of like like hate, like when people say like, because I know in the city people are making art, people are making music, and everybody's kind of like maybe in a way holding on to whatever they've like established, even if those a little bit, and maybe not trying to let necessarily the other person come up under them or like get into their slot, because it might be only a few slots there. So what do you think about like the idea of like, I don't know, hate and vibing people and how that plays a part in the scene and stuff?
I'll tell you about that. I think that is the problem with, I think, culture at times, is that the fear of letting the next person come in. And I think what happens is like the older generation, they get really scared to lose their position and to lose their power, and they try to hold on to it, and they hold on to it so long, and they don't budge, and they just like don't kind of like support what's happening around them. And what happens is like they'll hold it for a while, but then like if they don't share the knowledge, if they don't share their stories and their and what they've learned and pass it to the next, it dies there, you know. So that movement dies right there. So I see that. I always complained about that because it was like a lot of older generation that was just like holding on and not budging, and I was just like, and I would tell them, I was like, man, you're gonna die with that. Like that's gonna like you're gonna that you stop there. But if you embrace the next wave and the next, you know, generation of kids who are doing things, and you communicate with them, and you know, like I said, they'll keep you young for a little while. You know, they'll take you under their wing when this time, and you'll be a part of this whole wavelength that happens. You know, it's a river.
Like,
you know,
it's about like how strong what you have is in general. I mean, I think like if you have it, like if what you're doing is strong enough and original enough or like creative enough, then even if someone else comes in, you still have your thing that you can grow with also by yourself.
Yeah,
you know, like, I think there's like pieces you can give to people and keep moving.
It builds. It's momentum.
It's like,
that's based off of how secure you are in yourself and what you're doing,
exactly.
and like
if you're mad insecure and you feel like what you're doing is kind of got people tricked or some shit, and then like these people are coming with the real, then you're kind of like, oh, I can't really let these people in because then like what do I have next or something. Versus like if you really have it, because you do that, you're always looking after the people under you too.
I'm intrigued. It keeps me fucking, you know, inspired to. It keeps me on my toes to be like, man, if I don't fucking make sure I keep doing what I do, I'm just gonna get pushed to the side. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's a battle. You know what I'm saying? It's like let's all push forward, but let's all like, you know, it's. I think it's important to let it happen and embrace it and find a way to get involved in it, and then when it's time for you to fall back, you just fall back and let them take over, and then the story keeps getting told. You know, I think a lot of times in the past I've seen where people try to like hold on to their thing, and it's just like it's bad, you know, and you see it, and you see how insecure, and you see how like it's not strong. So I think like if motherfuckers ain't budging, like beat it. You know what I'm saying? We're coming regardless, you know? Like this shit moves fast out here in New York.
Right.
It moves fast. You blink of an eye, the next motherfucker's coming for your spot.
Right.
So that means you gotta stay on your toes.
All right.
Not tippy toe. You gotta stay on your fucking feet.
Heavy foot, flat foot.
All right, cool. This is the last question, I think. Well, not even a question. Just talk about like 2016 or now into the foreseeable kind of near future about what you're trying to do with No Wave and what you see for the city and the projects you're excited about and what you're looking for out of the people you work with.
No Wave is a thing that, you know, I always looked at. It's an extension of the gallery, you know, that we do and we work on. Like that, the gallery is like the main thing, but like No Wave became this other arm of it that was kind of like this like performative thing that I think is really important to let people kind of voice ideas and voice opinions of also like voice their music, voice, you know, questions that they have to ask and stuff. But I think it's really important to document that and give people that airwave to kind of you know, put it out there in the world somehow, some way. And you know, through the years that we've been doing No Wave, it's gone through changes and different phases. And you know, I love that I, you know, turn it over to the community, let them use it for what they need and stuff. You know, here we are on this 2015-16 phase where, like, you know, we got evicted from the third space, cops shut us down. You know, landlords are not having it. They don't understand what's going on. It's undefinable. There's youth, you know, smoking weed. There's fights going on. There's grown people fucking acting weird. There's jazz musicians playing music. It just doesn't make sense. And it's like a piece of historical, you know, thing that's happening throughout New York's history. But you know, for me, I think right now I just want to tighten it up. I want to, you know, whoever has the passion to kind of keep moving forward with No Wave and wants to continue, you know, contributing to the project by like putting out what they're creating and voicing what they're living. I think it's really important for them to kind of stay connected with it. I think for me, I really want to find a way to kind of showcase a lot of the projects that are happening, from like, you know, performative arts to music to writing to videos. I just want to bring everybody together, and I don't want to just throw parties. Like I said, parties can be thrown all the time, and it's like most people don't remember the parties the next day because they were so fucked up or it just hasn't changed their life. So for me, it's like I want to kind of incorporate the party vibe but mix it in with some more content that's happening with culture and art, and kind of like, you know, bring the community back together under one roof. And there's not that many venues that can house it. We'll figure it out, but I think right now for me, for No Wave, it's just like, you know, keep letting the newer generation have an opportunity to voice their movement, let the older generation tell their stories, and kind of connect the dots between all these different levels and different genres of different times of New York City. And I think that's the most important thing, is like letting these different walks of life mesh, you know, let them mesh together and exchange ideas. And that's kind of like what we talk about, where it's like, you know, letting the next person in. It's like, if everybody's sharing ideas and stories and helping each other by this thing, it keeps everybody fresh and together, and the unknown's there, you know, like the unknown of like what could happen when everybody kind of just like supports each other. Even if there's like egos and everybody hates on each other, it's still like we're all doing this together regardless, and that's the movement, you know.